Welcome back to another ConsoleCole review. Remember how I said the next episode was going to come quick? No? Yeah, I don't remember saying that either. Let's just get into it. I've discussed games for the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and the PlayStation, but we're jumping up a few years here with Need for Speed Prostreet for the Xbox 360. The Need for Speed series has been around since the mid-90s when it was introduced onto home console, most notably the PlayStation. As a kid growing up, I had 3 Need for Speed games for the PlayStation, but they were all just meh in my opinion. They were too arcade-like in that they were very single-race oriented. If you wanted more depth, as I wanted, you got something like Gran Turismo 2. But that was then, and this is now. Or I guess it's 2007 we're talking about. Wait, 2007? Man, I feel old. As mentioned before, Need for Speed was always a more arcade-oriented game with a focus on street racing. But Prostreet attempted to merge street racing culture to an organized track setting. The results were mixed at best. For starters, the career mode kind of just throws you in the thick of things really quickly, which is fine. It's a racing game. Hit the gas to go, hit the brakes to stop. It's a fairly simple concept. The goal is for you, the main character named Ryan Cooper, to become the Street King, which I don't even know what that's even supposed to mean. I mean, this is clearly track racing, so why is it the Street King? Who crowns it? Is this like organized or what? More questions are raised when the current Street King, Ryo Watanabe, apparently has some beef with Ryan Cooper. It's a very, very shallow plot. That's all you really need to know plot-wise. Plot aside, the gameplay is what we're really worried about. Races are categorized into 4 main types. First there's Grip, which is your typical road race. And they have time trials, normal races, sector races, group races, just a bunch of different types within the Grip type, which is great and really deters from doing the same thing over and over again. Then there's drag racing, which is pretty straightforward, except they require you to shift manually, which I'll cover that later. Drifting is pretty straightforward too, just drift for a high score. These 3 make a really well-rounded racing experience. But then there's the speed challenges. These are long sections of track that are designed for hitting the highest speeds, usually 250 miles an hour. These are the worst, hands down. The slightest tap of the steering will totally jack you up, and you will always wreck. And I mean always. I played a lot of racing games in my day, but I've never crashed as much as the speed challenges from Prostreet. It totally ruins the great diversity this game had by forcing you into this madman's nightmare. Along with the disastrous speed challenges, the physics just seem off. Like I mentioned twice before, Need for Speed was always more arcade-oriented, meaning the physics weren't always perfect, but Prostreet was meant to be on actual tracks, so it's supposed to be more like a simulation. But it doesn't really do either style well. It's just an awkward combination of the two, which is something I never really noticed when I was playing this game as a young ConsoleCole. You know, I really try to be positive when doing these reviews, but this time it's just really hard. If you haven't noticed, I play this game with the driving line on because it's just super difficult to determine when to start braking. Even when the right driving line is followed and the game just tells you when to hit the brakes, it still doesn't feel like the right line or the right speed to be doing some corners. I almost always hit the brakes after the line has already turned red. The only saving grace from this game is the car customization, but man is that a great saving grace to have. You're required to have a car designated for each type of event, so you're not drifting in a drag car or whatnot. In doing so, you can absolutely go crazy on the car appearances, if you haven't already seen throughout the video. You want a camo car? Done. You want a car with the American flag on it? Done. I don't have any footage of any super crazy cars from Prostreet's heyday, but there's really no limits to what you could do car appearance-wise. Another minor detail that saves this game from total disparity is that you can select from 3 transmission settings: automatic, manual, and manual clutch. This is one of the only games that I know that you can set it to require engaging the clutch before changing gears. It certainly is not anything like actual manual, but as someone who drives stick, it's kind of refreshing to clutch and drop gears, even though hitting the left bumper on the Xbox controller is nothing like a clutch pedal. While I still have positive memories of this game, revisiting it certainly has shed some light on its flaws in comparison to other racing games of the time. Heck, it's even outclassed in replayability by Gran Turismo 3 and 4 on the PS2. If not for the radical car designs you can make, I'd probably say this game might not even be worth playing. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for episode 5, to be determined.